Guys, if you're listening to this, I'm telling you right now, if you are a man, if you are a woman, this book needs to be read by your eyeballs 2 or 3 times. I'm telling you.
Well, today on Born to Read, we're talking about a book by the same author as our last episode. It was the prequel to Household Wars for the Cosmos. The book is Man of the House by C.R.Wiley, or Chris Wiley, I guess he goes by C.R.Wiley.
Yeah, his pen name is C.R.Wiley.
Because there's some other person named Chris Wiley that he doesn't want to be confused with. So
yeah, I guess it's a different person.
But again, people who use their initials instead of their actual name are automatically 10 times cooler. So we know that this man is the man because he shortens his name. So
yeah, J.N. Wheels says it's true.
Very true.
So Jeremiah, what's this book about? If we were going to give the big picture, what's it about?
So this book is titled Man of the House. Now the subtitle is A Handbook for Building a Shelter That Will Last in a World That is Falling Apart. So this book is very practical. It tackles a lot of different topics, and they're all focused around building a household that is going to last you through a cultural collapse. Is there a cultural collapse coming? Absolutely there is. America's falling apart. We don't even know if a man is a man or a woman is a woman anymore.
We're watching it happen before our eyes.
Yeah, I mean, we are disintegrating. And so what are you going to do when the culture collapses? You're going to rely on your household, and you're going to rely on the bonds that your household has with other households. So that's what this is about, building a strong household and surviving this cultural collapse we're about to have.
So that we can weather the storm.
Yeah.
Right? And what I love about kind of some of his main premises is not looking out and pointing fingers at the world, but turning in towards the house and getting to work. Putting some effort into the actual house. And so he puts a lot of a really heavy emphasis on being a man, not just in, when you think man of the house, you think of a man being a leader, being the person that people look to, the people that people want to listen to. But what he also emphasizes is a man of the house is a man who cares about his house.
Right.
It's not just about everybody looking at him. It's him looking back at his house and wanting to build it and make it something productive and something that will last, that will weather the storm.
Right, yeah. Guys, if you're listening to this, I'm telling you right now, if you are a man, if you are a woman, this book needs to be read by your eyeballs 2 or 3 times. I'm telling you. Now he goes through a bunch of good stuff in this book. I have it right here. One of the first things he said where I was like, hold on a second. He said, we have tended to follow the market too much, and our market right now is governed by evil forces, and we, the market, have chosen to value marriage and value children at a low rate. And so we're not getting married and we're not having children. He said, however, when this market falls, the premium on children and marriage is going to skyrocket. And we are watching that this culture is going to fall. So you're going to get ahead of the curve. If somebody's going to tell you, hey, gold's going to launch by 300% in the next year, you're going to buy some gold. So marriage and children, the value of them is going to skyrocket soon in the next generation. And we need to get ahead of that curve and get on with it. And so in that vein, I'll continue on this because this is in the same vein. He talks about, in one of his first chapters in part 1, the framework of the household. He talks about Adam. Adam's name means soil because Adam was made from the soil. Eve was made from Adam. Therefore, she's indirectly from the soil as well. She's flesh of his flesh, bone of his bone. She's made from soil as well. God told Adam to cultivate the garden, and the garden is made from soil. God told Adam, make fruit come from the soil. Only problem is Adam couldn't make fruit come from himself. He's a part of the garden. He came from the garden. So God told Adam, cultivate the garden, and then he gave him Eve. So Adam, the mandate is that Adam needs to cultivate Eve and have her bear fruit. And so one of the things I'm thinking about while I'm reading this is, am I cultivating my wife? Is my wife bearing fruit?
And you view that wife, the woman of the house, as a flower that is coming out of that soil. That it's a beautiful thing. It's part of the garden. It's part of the glory of what God has gifted to the earth.
Yeah.
She's the crown and glory of the world. And there's he mentioned several times in the book going after the girl, and he uses maybe one of my favorite parts of the book is where he changes the parable of Jack and the Beanstalk.
Oh yeah.
And changes the giant to being a corporate monster,
Yeah.
right?
Corporation. Yeah.
That steals his girl away, and Jack, the little farmer, has to go chase down his girl.
If that ain't the truth, I mean, I don't know what is.
I mean, I was like, man, this is probably the best part of the book was that,
Yeah.
and I won't spoil all of the details that he goes into because but it's really really good, and you're reading this going, wow, this is really profound, and I probably need to quit my job.
Yeah, you're thinking, yeah, because in his chapter, Productive Property, he talks about all of the, I mean, he goes through naming oikonomos, the household economy, which is a biblical term, but he talks about oikonomos, the household economy, and how the biblical household is also an economy. And the woman is domestically oriented towards that household economy. And he goes on, and my favorite part about it is the part about roots. And he says that productive property will tie you down, not downed. Um, and how true is that? Like, you have a business, you have a rental property, it's going to tie your family to that place. And you need that. You need to be able to put down roots over the course of generations and tie together families. And man, I need to read this book again.
Yes. And he cuts at it from several different perspectives. He has these little cutout boxes he has 4 different characters, and each one is taking an issue and addressing it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And when he looks at those things, each perspective is like, oh my goodness, that's so refreshing. When you're talking about the economy, it's talking about the law of the house.
Yes.
Right. That's what the word means.
Oh, is that what it means?
Is household law. Nomos being law. It's the law of the house, and so this is how things work. We run based on this household,
Right.
And part of that running that rule, having that rule of law being run through the household, comes from a central point. That when the father is the central point of the household runs better. And
Right.
he has this whole chapter that he calls gravitas, and that's what a man of the house is supposed to have, is to be that gravitas, that the house revolves around him.
Yes.
Because he's put down roots. He has weight to him, that he draws people to himself to be able to accomplish certain goals, that he has influence over his house, and he's not afraid to hold his own in a discussion, in a tough decision. He's ready to have that weight borne on his own shoulders, so that he can make life easier on the other people who can't bear that weight.
Right. And I love how he gives practical tips on how to attain gravitas. One of them being have a private space in your house that your kids can't go in, like an office. And he's like, that's something that will give you gravitas in your household. And I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking like the priests of Israel, they had a place where only they could go, and it made them holy. People were like, well, that's the holy high priest of God. You don't want to mess with him, because he went somewhere you couldn't go. Now, I'm not saying don't take this out of context, but what I'm saying is, when you have your own space, practically, that does say something to the rest of your household, and in turn, you gain that gravitas that gravity, that weight, and people in your house will begin to listen to your law, and you begin to build that household law. And that is the biggest threat to tyranny,
Yep.
because tyrants don't like fathers that have their household under their control.
Yeah. And what I loved is he emphasizes the threefold office of a father
Yeah.
that mirrors the threefold office of Christ
Oh yeah.
as prophet, priest, and king.
Of his house.
That as he in his house is representing his family to God as the priest. He's representing he's representing God to his family as prophet.
Yeah.
And then he's essentially representing his household to the world as king. He rules his house and says, "This is how we do things. This is how we know this is the direction that we're going."
Yep.
And the world who has an issue, if the world has an issue with this kingdom, this household domain, you're gonna have to come through me. It all starts and ends with that king, and it's amazing that when you see Jesus as operating in those things, in those same offices, that then the Father is supposed to operate in that same mode.
Yeah.
It's an amazing analogy, and you realize when a culture wants to go to war, they want to abolish a household, right? We know, like you said earlier, the household is already being degraded. We're already trying to destroy the household.
Yeah.
But in destroying the household, where do you have to start if you want to destroy the household? Is you have to start with the man of the house. Jesus even said, you can't plunder a house if you don't bind the strong man first. And so if an enemy is going to take an attack, they're going to come after the man of the house.
Yeah.
And if the man of the house isn't up to the task, his house is going to fall. And that's where having that weight, having that gravitas is absolutely necessary to be able to stand up and weather the storm and protect your family from that world. Because he continues, Wiley continues to put this cycle that there goes this time where culture will value the family and they want to build it up because they've run out of capital, right? Mm-hmm. Because people are capital in a system, in a world system. You need people to follow that system. If the family isn't following the system,
right,
or if the people aren't following the system, you need different people. And so the world system is a destroyer of life. It's a destroyer of people. And so when the system gets beat down, when they run out of people to be indoctrinated, they turn and then want to say, "Oh, we have to promote family again. Right. We need more warm bodies." And what Wiley's advocating here is a family that can go to war with the culture and say, "We're not offering our families to you anymore. Mm-hmm. We're operating independently of this culture." And in fact, we're the ones who are going to define what culture is, because we're the ones who are building things that last.
And in that same vein, he talks about how we've begun to think that money is what begets people.
Right.
But he says, no, people beget money. So he's like, we got it mixed up. And so that's all the reason to have a family. You don't want to have kids because you want to have the money. No, actually, there's no such thing as value, money, economy, or free market without people.
Right.
So the more people you create, you're creating more value into the economy. Now, this did kind of challenge my free market Austrianism economically a little bit with some things that he says, but I think the specialization curve just needs to be curved for the factor of God's law. I do not think that we should go on saying, "Oh, specialization is stupid." I don't think that that's the route we should take, and I'm probably getting a little off topic, but I love how he ends it with saying, like, the work of your lifetime is not really worth much if your children get your money but not your morals and your faith. And we were talking about that earlier, and that's really what it's about. The man of the house passes down faith into the next generation.
Yep.
And he passes down faith to the next generation. That's what being the man of the house is about. And that's why people want to destroy the household.
Yep. So How would you rate it? Out of 10?
Oh, 10
Absolutely.
for sure. Like
The only issue that I really had with what he wrote was kind of the formatting of the book. Like those little cutouts from the other perspectives was like a little bit weird.
That's because Canon Press didn't do it.
Yeah.
That's why.
Like the things that were in the boxes were really, really great. These like
Yeah.
little cutouts. I was like, man, those are so profound, but I don't know when to read them. Do I read them at the end of this paragraph, or do I just go back and read all of the different boxes? I was like, I don't know how to read this book. But what the substance of what the book is just absolutely amazing.
Yes.
And especially when you pair it, this is the nuts and bolts of his follow-up book, Household and the War for the Cosmos.
Yes.
You go, okay, I know what I need to do now.
Right.
If you read this one, and then when you read Household and the War for the Cosmos, you say, I know why I need to do this.
Right.
You know, this is a what, the other one is a why, and when you put the two together, it's just it's a perfect pairing. To be able to read these together. So if you haven't read it already, Man of the House, go check it out. It's so good. We cannot recommend this book.
Oh, worth the money.
Yes. And then read it again as soon as you're done. And then loan it to a friend and tell them to read it twice. It's so good. So thank you for joining us again on Born to Read. We'll catch you next time.